OC. Viewer discretion is advised. Incoming transmission in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, it's Connie here from the Outcasted OC podcast and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. I am not wasting any time. A lot happened this week. We are in the Raw going into Bad Blood, so a lot has gone down in preparations for the PLE this weekend, so let's get straight into it. So we started off with seeing Punk, McIntyre, Braun and Bronson arriving. Now all four of these guys are in very prominent spots on Monday Night Raw this week, and we actually started the show with Wade Barrett and Joe in the ring as well too. They welcomed everybody to Monday Night Raw and they obviously showed us a recap of what happened last week with Jey Uso and Braun Breaker in the Intercontinental Championship match, and obviously how Jey Uso won. That was a really great moment. Obviously, I spoke about it last week. So Jey Uso makes his way through the crowd into the ring, and the crowd goes absolutely crazy for his first entrance as the Intercontinental Champion. He gets a whole bunch of "you deserve it" chants, which he completely does, and he goes ahead and says that the Intercontinental Champion, main event Jey Uso, is now in your city. This is my first singles championship, and I want to fight everyone and fight every week for it. I appreciate you guys, and I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Thank you so much for having my back through all the years. I love you. This is very special for me. It was a long, hard road to get here, but my family has made it hard for me throughout this time. And he talks about being a twin, and he talks about how hard it's been for him throughout his career, but he's just done this all on his own. He said, my biggest fan is my mother, and I've spoken to my mother, and she said, go out there and show them who you are. Go out there and get it. I got it, mama. We did it. So he cut a really heartfelt promo, obviously talking about the struggles and the trials and tribulations of him getting to the point of being Intercontinental Champion. Braun Breaker comes out. And he's like, look, I'm not here to spoil the fun or crash the party. I have a lot of respect for that title. The lineage goes back a very long way, and it goes back to my family as well too. He said, I have the same amount of respect for you as well too. That title means so much to me, and you were the better man on that night. I'm not going to spare you. I'm not going to attack you. I just felt like it should be me being the first one to congratulate you. And so they shake hands, and Braun looks like he's about to leave, and Jey Uso's like, hey Braun, there's some dogs in Indiana Roost. So I feel like we could potentially get a rematch between these two, but it was really nice for Braun Breaker to go out there and show his respect to Jey Uso. Obviously he knows how long and how hard of a fight it's been for Jey Uso to become Intercontinental Champion. Then we saw the LWO and New Day interaction from backstage last week, and we saw that Liv and Dom were hanging out by the lowrider outside of the arena when Dom gets a phone call, and the entirety of Judgment Day goes up to Liv Morgan, and Dom's on the phone to Finn Balor. Finn Balor's not there. He says he has some travel issues, but he said, can you let Liv know that the business that we have is all taken care of? Now, this is obviously potentially in reference to something that we could see in her match with Rhea Ripley at Bad Blood. Initially, I thought it was Raquel Rodriguez. I feel like bringing in a powerhouse like Raquel to be that kind of bodyguard for Liv Morgan could actually be kind of cool. Very similar to what they've been doing with Mercedes Moné and Camille in AEW. I feel like that's a way that you could keep the title on Liv for a little bit longer, but still have this feud between her and Rhea go on to stretch that feud out a little bit longer if that's what you're hoping to do. Then we go back to the ring where we have Rey Mysterio taking on Xavier Woods. Now, this was a short match, but an action-packed filled match nonetheless. Xavier starts out on top during the match. He overpowers Rey, but Rey ends up reversing it, and he takes control early on. He hits a West Coast pop as well, and then we go to a commercial break. When we come back from the commercial break, Xavier is in control, and then Rey hits a moonsault onto Xavier outside of the ring. Rey ends up launching at Xavier, and then he sits up the 619. Xavier avoids this, but he accidentally grabs Rey Mysterio's mask, unmasks him, and gets a roll-up pin for a 3 count. So we're starting to see that Xavier's getting in his head a little bit. He's making silly mistakes that he really shouldn't be making, being a veteran on the roster, but he's capitalizing off these moments as well too. So normally the old Xavier would have accidentally unmasked him or not even unmasked him at all and is just completely mortified by it. But not only am I finding he's mortified by it, but he's also willing to act upon it as well, which is really troubling. So I'm really hoping Xavier's okay. Then we get to see Lyra Valkyria's backstage warming up for her match against Zoe Stark, and Sonya and Shayna both come in to intimidate her before her match against Zoe. Then Xavier is backstage after his match, and Kofi runs into him, and Kofi asked if Xavier unmasking thinking Ray was on purpose, and he's like, no, I promise, like, it wasn't on purpose, it was an accident. And Kofi goes on to say that Jay's offered me an Intercontinental Championship shot next week, and Xavier's really excited about it. And then Kofi's like, no, like, I've suggested you, like, you deserve it so much more than me. So it looks like we could be getting that next week. Then we go back to the ring where we have Lyra Valkyria taking on Zoe Stark. Zoe takes control at the beginning of the match, and there's some really awesome sequencing coming in from Lyra and Zoe. Zoe hits a really nice backbreaker, and when we come back from a commercial break, Zoe is still in control of the match. Lyra attacks Zoe and hits a really nice crossbody. She's showing off her aerial skills. Zoe hits a perfection picked missile drop kick. Every time I see that, I just get so excited because it's a picture perfect missile drop kick. She goes for the Z360, but Lyra ends up getting out of it. Shayna and Sonya end up getting involved, so Shayna distracts the ref and Sonya ends up kneeing Lyra in the face. Then Zoe capitalizes off of this and hits the Z360. After the match, Zoe has won and PFC are celebrating in the ring, and they end up attacking Lyra Valkyria, but we end up seeing the return of Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, and they attack Pure Fusion Collective. Now we see that Katana Chance is sporting like a black mask on her face because I think she ended up breaking her nose or something. So maybe she's not fully ready for in-ring action, but still they've made their return. We had a video package for the Braun versus Bronson last Monster Standing match that's taking place later on in the evening. And backstage we see that Adam Pearce is preparing security for the interaction between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, and we end up seeing CM Punk walking past both of them. Jackie Redmond catches up with Lyra and Kaden and Katana, and they have a backstage moment. And then we end up seeing Alba and Isla come in, and they get into a bit of an argument with Kaden and Katana, talking about the tag titles and jumping the queue. Then Adam Pearce is in the ring with security, and the Hell in a Cell cage comes down, and he welcomes out CM Punk and Drew McIntyre individually out to the ring, and they both come in, they both make their entrances. CM Punk is checking the security of the cage just to kind of see what he can do. Drew McIntyre comes in, he's in a full black tuxedo. Adam asks if either of them have any last words for each other, and Drew starts off by bringing up AJ and says that she's going to have to take care of Punk after this. This black tuxedo is actually more or less for a celebration. You've been back for almost a year. You were injured for 4 months thanks to me. But after all of the evidence and everything I've been trying to tell you for the last 10 months, you still decide to chant his name. Roxanne Perez hung out with you for a couple of days and realized what kind of person you are. I hate you. You taught me how to hate. That hate will die with you at Bad Blood. There's a moment where Drew McIntyre looks like he's going to leave because Punk doesn't look like he's going to say anything, but Punk grabs the microphone and he starts off by saying, a lot of people have given me very different names across the course of my career, but if anything, I'm voiceless right now because I've got nothing to say to this piece of garbage. I'm sending you home to Scotland in a box. And he goes on to say how he hasn't actually been home within a month. He's been living in a hotel room because he doesn't want AJ, his wife, to see who Drew has turned him into. He said that you prayed for all this and I'm going to see you in hell. There was a lot more that was said, but oh my goodness, this promo segment, especially from CM Punk, was just chef's kiss, and I'm so excited for the match this weekend. Kathy Kelly is catching up with Braun Strowman going into this last Monster Standing match, and she asks him if he's nervous. He says nervous he is not. He's about to remind the whole world who he is. And then Miz comes in, and R-Truth has returned, and this is just so exciting. They have a moment together, and they basically end up finding out that Truth has set up a tag team match for Awesome Truth and AOP tonight, which Miz is kind of like, why would you do that? Then Kathy's catching up with Sammy and talks about how he's been trying to get a World Heavyweight Championship title opportunity out of Gunther for the last couple of weeks. And he says that there's a lot of disrespect coming from Gunther. There's a lot of doubters and haters that have been there throughout my entire career, but it doesn't bother me. But when it comes to Gunther, it's a little bit different because it's hit a bit of a sore spot. He said, look, I'm not going to lose sleep over it either because I know that I'm more than good enough and I don't go away that easy. And I'm not going to stop until I get my chance at the World Heavyweight Championship. Then we head back to the ring. We have the Judgment Day taking on LWO. Now this is a 6-man tag. We have Dom, Carlito, and JD taking on Cruz, Joaquin, and Dragon Lee. This was a really exciting match, super interesting, and there's just a lot of great moments in there. Obviously the LWO do what they do best and did a lot of aerial moves. Obviously teaching each other how to do that as well too is really cool. So JD and Cruz start the match. Cruz, it's a really nice crossbody. The entirety of the LWO go flying, and then after the commercial break, Judgment Day has regained control. Dragon Lee comes in hot, and we end up seeing Cruz del Toro going coast to coast. They both go flying, and then there's a moment where Liv distracts the referee, and Judgment Day capitalizes off of this and secures the win. Finn Balor also came in and disrupted the match as well too, which JD took advantage of and secured the win for Judgment Day. After the match, we have a commercial break, but when we come back, Judgment Day are still in the ring, and Finn talks about what Damien said last week and said that, he doesn't have a heart, and he is going to prove to the entire world that it was Damien that needed the Judgment Day. We never needed you. And Liv then follows on by saying that she's going to prove at Bad Blood that she's a home-wrecking, man-stealing, heartbreaking, title-taking champion, which is very much giving me echoes of Ric Flair in terms of just the cadence of the promo. And before she gets a chance to say anything else, Rhea Ripley comes out, and Rhea goes, "Look, Liv, I've known Dom for a very long time, and I know a lot of his secrets. And when it comes to the shark cage, which they bring the shark cage out, she goes, he's claustrophobic. So when he's crying and soiling himself and he can use this toilet paper that we're now selling, he's going to have the best seat in the house to see you and see that you're not as good as me, and I'm going to win that title back." And then we end up seeing Damien come in, and Finn and him start brawling back and forth. Rhea then goes and sneak attacks on Liv. She ends up headbutting her and slamming Dom into the barricade, grabbing Dom and throwing him into the shark cage multiple times. There's a moment where Liv Morgan runs away, but then she ends up coming back and she attacks Rhea from behind, which I think is such a pussy move. If you're gonna attack her, just attack her. Don't wince away for 5 seconds and then be like, "Oh, never mind, I'm coming back." Damien ends up going and fighting off the entirety of the Judgment Day, but then Finn Balor ends up on top because he hits 3 coup de grace on Damien. The go-home math is telling me that Damien's winning the match, but I still don't really have my prediction set on this, but they've got a lot of stock in the Terra Twins, so if they do win, I'd be so excited. We have a little bit going on backstage, so let's quickly just run over what we saw. So we saw a video package with Sheamus talking about how the issues that have been going on with Pete Dunne are a lot more personal because he felt like a brother, and they've set up a Donnybrook match for next week. Then we had a Pete Rose in memoriam video, and then we ended up seeing a Damage Control backstage promo as well too, talking about how they are going to regain the tag titles off Jade and Bianca. We head back to the ring where we have Chad Gable taking on Kofi Kingston. Now we had the entirety of Alpha, oh my god, I keep calling them Alpha Academy, American Made, and then we had Xavier was ringside as well too. Chad's technical prowess is on display, and then after the commercial break, Kofi ends up finding his footing. There's a lot of really quick near falls and roll-ups with each other, and then we end up seeing Chad catching Kofi in an ankle lock after a Trouble in Paradise, and there's a moment where it looks like Kofi's about to hit the Trouble in Paradise on Chad, but then Xavier ends up accidentally ruining it, so he pulls Chad away, and then Kofi can't hit the move properly. Then Chad hits the Chaos Theory and secures the win. Xavier's trying to console Kofi afterwards and trying to apologize, but Kofi isn't having any of it. A little bit more going on backstage, so we got to see Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and Sheamus were all in attendance over the weekend for different NFL events, and Kathy was catching up with Bronson Reed in preparation for this last Monster Standing match, and she's asking about Seth Rollins, and he says, "Congratulations to Seth Rollins, I hope he's coming back. I took months off his career, but I will be taking years off his life, and I'm going to expose Braun for the man that he is. I am the last monster standing." And then Gunther is seen walking backstage. He's going to be making his way out to the ring, and we have a Wyatt 6 video package and QR code as well too. Gunther makes his way out to the ring to cut a promo, and he starts talking about how his life as the World Heavyweight Champion has been nothing but fantastic, and he loves every single aspect of it. But there's one thing that he really hates about his life right now, and that's the insult of Sami Zayn. He couldn't ask for anybody more annoying than him, and then Sami comes out and says, Gunther, if you find it so annoying dealing with me every single week, there's one way to deal with this. All you have to do is give me what I keep asking for. Give me a title shot at the World Heavyweight Championship. Tell me why you won't do it. And Gunther's like, you're just not on my level, Sami. Like, I don't know how many times I have to tell you. And Sami's like, well, why did I beat you at WrestleMania then? It drives you crazy. You're scared that it's going to happen again. And Gunther's like, you know what? You're right. I am afraid. Not of you, but of my reputation. At the end of the day, losing to the better man would be no problem. But losing to you has been the biggest embarrassment of my entire career. And he talks about how he flew his entire family over to WrestleMania for them to watch Gunther win. But then at the end of WrestleMania, Gunther's dad had to ask him, why did you lose to a bum like Sami Zayn? And he talks about how, Sami's family is used to seeing him fail, but when it comes to Gunther's family, his family expects everything from him, and that's something that you will never be. And Sami goes on to say, look, my family has seen me go through a lot, but they've also seen me pick myself back up and keep myself moving forward. Sami then continues to make it personal by talking about Gunther's family. Gunther ends up attacking Sami, and they both have a bit of a brawl back and forth, and then Gunther says that Sami has the opportunity, and the title opportunity is for next week. We get to see a super quick match between Awesome Truth and AOP. This didn't really eventuate into very much because Karrion Kross was ringside and he was talking to Miz through the entire match, and he was basically trying to get in Miz's ear. So Truth is overpowering AOP. He pays tribute to John Cena. Razor hits a slam on to Truth, and then when Miz comes in, he attacks Truth and just walks out of the match. And then Truth gets the crap beaten out of him and AOP win the match. I'm just real sad about it, not gonna lie. Why are you gonna do Truth dirty like that? He's just come back from the attack against Bronson Reed. Like, oh my goodness. There's a moment where Kathy Kelly is catching up with Gunther and Ludwig, and before they have really a chance to say anything, Bron comes in and he starts looking at the World Heavyweight Championship that Gunther's holding over his shoulder. He's like, I just wanted to see it for myself. He looks like a bit of a mark, not gonna lie. But then Gunther calls Bron a badass, which was kind of cool. And then Ludwig's like, what was that? So we finally made it to the main event, and it is Bronson Reed taking on Braun Strowman. Now this is the last monster standing match. Now this is pretty much just a last man standing match. This was really fun though. I really enjoyed this, and I'm so happy this was the main event. So from the beginning of the match, Braun goes straight after Bronson, and then Bronson ends up getting sent into the stairs. Can I also just say, Bronson takes a lot of bumps in this match as well too, which is just absolutely crazy. Braun ends up attacking Bronson with the stairs, and he hits a choke slam onto Bronson into the table. After the commercial break, we end up seeing Bronson dropping Braun, and then Bronson goes into a stack of chairs that is outside of the ring. He tries to escape, but Braun ends up chasing him, and he ends up attacking Bronson with some chairs. Bronson ends up fireman carrying slams Braun into a table, which was like on one of the technical tables out in the crowd, which was crazy to see. Then we have a commercial break, but when we come back, Braun not only goes into the timekeeper's area from Bronson, but he also goes into like the first row of the arena, and like the whole crowd's there, and it's just like really awkward. So security comes in to start checking up on the fans because they're concerned that something's happened. And what ends up happening is the referee ends up getting distracted during this moment. Bronson goes for 2 tsunamis onto Braun. But obviously because the ref's distracted, he's not counting the count. And then we end up seeing Bronson get really angry and he attacks Adam. And then we end up seeing Braun going off the top rope and he flies. And the ring ends up collapsing. But my boy Seth Rollins has returned, and he goes ahead and stomps Bronson Reed, and then we end up seeing Braun Strowman secure the win. So Braun Strowman is the last monster standing, and my boy Seth Rollins has returned, and I'm so excited because it feels like he has been gone forever. He looks amazing. He looks fantastic. He looks well rested. He looks happy to be back, and it looks like he's going straight into a program with Bronson Reed, and I am so here for it. Sadly, that brings us to the end of this week's Raw review. I hope you really enjoyed the video. If you guys did, please make sure you go ahead and like the video, as well as leaving a comment down below about something that you enjoyed about Raw this week, and if you're excited for Bad Blood. We'd love to know what you guys think about the show going ahead this weekend. While you're there too, you should absolutely go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already, and turn on the bell icon that is next to the subscribe button. Those are your notifications. If you turn those on, you will not miss any future uploads. While you're there too, please go ahead and check out the description. You can find all the links to Outcasted on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, as well as all of our personal socials, so you can keep up to date with what we're doing when we're not posting on the channel. As always, you've got your regularly scheduled NXT review coming in from Reese this week. I'm super jealous about this one because he has CM Punk on the show, so it's going to be a lot of fun. As well as the podcast on Thursday, we'll be doing our Bad Blood predictions as well too, with a special guest. We cannot wait to show you who we have. And we've got the SmackDown review coming in as well too this weekend, and that's the SmackDown before Bad Blood. Oh my goodness, I got the name of the show wrong. Oh my goodness, kill me there, sue me. Anyway, I've been Courtney from the Outcasted OC, and I'll see you guys in the podcast this week. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you guys on the pod. Bye, guys.